This party started. Well, good morning, everybody. It's Monday, the 28th of March. This is the Smart Networker, and I'm Dave Rolfe, and welcome to our Monday morning Zoom call. So, yesterday I posted the latest version of Take a Look on a subject called planning and strategy, a very important step. So, I thought that we'd start off with just a little review on where we've come so far with the Take a Look series, and the purpose, the idea of it, and basically how to use it in the context of understanding how to build the business and get what you want, which is the entire object of the overall exercise, right? So the first Take a Look video was just okay, here's what we are. This is what we do. This is how, the basic understanding of what Nikan is and what the game plan is. The second one gets a little bit more serious because it gets into getting organized. And that organizing tool is a tool that allows you to identify everything that needs to be put together in order to build any kind of business enterprise activity, and it just cuts to the chase. It just allows you to focus faster, more directly to get to what you want to get to. And then the second part of that was the development of your story, and at the same time learning what to say. This is critical because learning what to say is that's all we do really, is we communicate with other people and we find out what they want, and then we tell them what we got, and we try and match the two together, and that's been the game from the beginning of time. So that's what that's all about. And then the next part of the Take a Look series was then, all right, the comp plan is an important aspect of understanding, but what's important about it that you need to really know to be efficient, effective, and get what you want? I mean, you can, over time, there are still things I may know or may not know about that compensation plan, but for right now, I know that the two main areas, there's two ways to make money. One is retail and the other is building an organization. And by building an organization, that's where the big money is, or the larger chunks are. And that's really the design of this company. So in the Take a Look, Show Me the Money series, that one then explains that concept. Then the following week was, the idea of building your team. And I think the true benefit of this business, which has been since it was started back in the probably 60s, 50s, was the idea of leverage in building a team and creating independent distributors. It's probably no different than Starbucks or McDonald's or any of these franchise ideas where you have multiple locations. And when you have multiple locations, you can have multiple income sources, so to speak, or multiple types of people that you're talking to, different demographics, different circumstances, situations. But when they're headed up by individuals, it's individuals that are the creative part of things. They're the life force, so they're going to make it happen. So it's an interesting combination of business structure and ideas. But in my opinion, from experience, and I've had a few years in this area, it's the way to go because it gives you the leverage and you get to gain the abilities of other people as part of your team. Okay. And yesterday's lesson was on planning and strategy, and what we're going to focus today on is kind of reviewing that idea so it really makes sense and you can apply it, because all of this stuff is only as good as you can apply it and make it work for you. And of course, you're uniquely different, and so how you think about it, how you digest it, how you utilize it really depends on who you are, your circumstances, and what you've learned to do or learned to deal with, or so on and so forth. And again, if we look at the bigger picture, it's all based on how you perceive. and everything is a perception. So that's the only thing you can do is perceive. So if you have pain, I know we're not supposed to use that word, but if you have pain, what you're actually doing is perceiving the fact that you have pain. So it's a perception that you can perceive that you have pain. When the pain goes away, you can perceive that it's gone away. So just like if it's hot or cold, warm or wet, or moist, or you have those sensations that you can perceive. So you look at a nice picture, you perceive that nice picture. You look at an ugly thing, and you perceive it as an ugly thing. So, and then the other thing that we can all do is we can say we like it or we don't. We can have those considerations, or it's kind of like you go to a restaurant and you see a dish that, I mean, this is me. So if I see something I don't like the look of, I'm not going to eat that darn thing, because I have that consideration that, and my wife will egg me on every once in a while. Try it. It's really good, and so on and so forth. But it's all based on perception. So it's what we perceive. So this is a key issue in playing this game, and also understanding that it's the perception of what other people see, what other people read, what other people understand, what other people digest, all of those kind of interesting issues. So in the number 5 series, which was plan and strategy, the main theme of that was, all right, let's hit this nail on the head. It starts with what you want. Now, I don't like to correct people, and I don't like to make people wrong for what they say, but it's all about want. Now, let me explain this, because it's really, really important to duplicate this one. And by duplicate, I mean understand so you can utilize it. So you get into this business in order to create some income. So what do you want? It's you want income. You get into this business because you love to help people. Well, what is it that you want? You want that sensation and that perception and that feeling of helping other people. So, this term why can only happen if there's a want. So somebody says, well, you got to find your why. Okay, so please tell me what a why is. It's to get what you want. So cut to the chase here. Make it as simple as possible, because it's the simple ways that get the job done, not the complex ways. So in other words, if we look at this situation, so I was approached on this business, real simple. The guy approached me on health issues. I didn't have any problems. So I didn't hear anything. I didn't perceive anything that I wanted to perceive. It didn't register with me. It just went right by. He then started talking to me about something that was very important to me at that time, which was economics, money. Well, I started to perk up and listen, and started to hear what I wanted to hear, because what I was looking for was an answer or a solution or some kind of direction as to how I could support a family and live my life, that kind of an idea. So in the sense of wanting, what I wanted at that time was income. Well, now I've been in this business a long time. I've dealt with lots of people, and as a result of dealing with that, the same things keep coming up over and over and over. Well, what are you doing this business for? Well, I want to make some extra money, or I want to pay off my kids' education loans, or I want to take an extra vacation, or I want to pay the taxes. Okay, so let's be honest about this, because that's going to open the door to happiness. I mean, the key to happiness is being honest. And so from the standpoint of moving forward, we want to deal with this for what it is, and not disguise it for what it isn't, because then we won't confront or deal with what's going on. So for example, somebody's been doing this business for 20 years and they still haven't made any money. So is that being honest with themselves, or are they trying to disguise it and use some other method or means to justify them being there? I mean, that doesn't make sense, does it? So it would be like if you were a businessman and you owned a furniture store and you put in all your money and everything into this furniture store and then nobody bought any furniture, but you kept the doors open, you kept borrowing money, you kept going further and further and further in the hole, but you kept not making any money. Well, is that sane? Or is there something wrong with that picture? So that's what we want to really understand here, is that there's a simplistic answer to this. It's all about what you want. Now, define what you want. That's the key issue. Then look at this business in the sense of, how does that deliver what you want? How does that give? What do you have to do to get that done? So I had a distributor, and she was in Colorado, and she didn't need money for anything. I mean, they had more money than Carter's Got Pills. And they're very successful family, and the husband was very successful, and millions of dollars kind of thing put away, and everything was all set. But she had something that she wanted, and then what she wanted that ability to help other people effectively and really feel good about what she was doing, and took on this idea and saw what the product did and what results that were created, right? And as a result of that, she went out with passion and desire and just went crazy. And I've told this story, the first 6, 7, 8 months where the checks were stuck in her drawer. She'd get them because they came in the mail. She'd just throw them in the drawer. She couldn't care less about that part of it. She was more concerned about the other part, right? So now what she found out in when we were working together, she was on my team, was the bigger her business got, the more of that she could create. So what did she see there? Well, what she saw there was that by building a bigger business, the way it works, she would then compound her energy, her efforts, her desires, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and she helped way, way, way more people, and that was the object. So the want factor is then the key issue to whether you make it or don't make it in this business, period, in a nutshell. And I've watched this for 32 years, and I've watched it for 44 years in this industry, and with all kinds of other companies, and they all operate the same way. Because in order to make this work, you have to do something. That's the key issue. So there's a little formula that you saw in the program if you watch the video. If not, when you review it, you're going to see it. It starts want, and then the next one is plan, and then the next one is decision, and then followed by action. Now, to play a little game here, I've created an exercise that I'd like you all to participate in, so you gain the experience of this little exercise, and play along with me, because I think it's really important. I'm going to change my view so I can see the gallery here and see who's on. There's a lot of people that aren't on the video, but if you are and can get on the video, this would be great, because then everybody else will see what actually happens here. And then as a group, we will learn together, and then we can experience what potentially other people will see. Hi, Jeannie, good morning. And how it affects them in what you do or what they do. So the first thing that I would like you to do is I'd like you to get the idea that you want a fresh glass of water. And I just want you to get that idea. I want you to get the idea that you would like a fresh glass of water. Okay, now, wherever you're located, hopefully that fresh glass of water is somewhere else, because this is the key to this exercise. Now, on a pad of paper, on a piece of note paper in front of you, I want you to write the instructions of how you're going to get that fresh glass of water. Now, I did one for myself so that I could give you an example. So, the first thing, I've got to get up out of my chair. The second thing I've got to do is I've got to go out my office door. Then I've got to turn right and go down to the end of the hallway. And at the end of the hallway, I got to turn right and go past the living room and dining room and into the kitchen. And straight ahead is a cupboard. And I've got to grab a glass. Once I've got the glass in my hand and I've got to walk down the kitchen counter to the Mag station and fill it up with water. Then I've got to walk back to my office, past the living room and dining room, down the hallway, and back into my chair and back onto this Zoom. So, what I want you to do is I want you to write out your instructions for you to get a fresh glass of water from where you're sitting right now. Start. And you can use the little hand the item when you're ready to go on to the next part. Okay, Karen, I see you're done. All right. Just use the little hand thing to signify that you're done. All right, Mary, I see you're done. Don, I see you're done. Hattie Jane, I see you're done. Linda, I see you're done. Elaine's done. And Karen's done. Okay. Very good, Jeannie. You see you're done. Just a couple more. Okay, Nancy, good. All right. Okay, so I'm going to let most of you, I think, are almost done. So for the sake of time and doing that, we'll move on to the next part. Now, and this is the critical part, I want you to make a decision to start your instruction. So you look at your list. What was the first thing you got on your list? Was it get up out of your chair? Okay, well, make the decision that you're going to go get your water and follow your instruction. And I'll see you back here when you got it done. Well, very good. Now, here's what you did. And this is brilliant because if we look at anything that we do, it's based on making a decision. Now, for example, you were in bed this morning and you had to make a decision to get out of bed. You know, you might have rolled around, you might have been sleepy, your eyes might have been tired, you say it might have been dark out, whatever the case may be, and you could have made a decision to stay in bed, couldn't you? You could have made a decision not to go get the water. And there's only two things we can do. We can make a decision to do, or we can make a decision not to do. But what was really fascinating about doing this exercise was the fact that you created a plan first and followed the plan. So the first step was real easy. Get up out of your chair. And the next step was then what you wrote out. The next step was there, and the next step was there. Well, here's what I want to tell you. That's how simple building this business really is. It's a step-by-step procedure of going from one thing to the next. So the whole object of the exercise was to get you to take a look at it all works the same way. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It starts with you want something. The second thing is you plan out how to get it. And the next thing you make a decision to go do it. And then the fourth thing is you get into action. And so if we take a look at building your business, okay, so in the video from Sunday as an example of making, I think it was maybe it was $8,000 a month, and so it required 15 teams, and each team had 15 to 25 people, and the volume that was created was put in there was 133,000 a month in CV. And the check that was created as a result of that, without any bonuses or incentive programs or whatever, was a check for $8,000. Now, it was a simple plan, and it started off with the first thing you have to do is find the first person. And when you find the first person, then what do you do next? So what was really interesting about doing that exercise was how you understood what the end was. And then you broke it down into little bite-sized pieces based on knowing the geography of your home and identifying various landmarks. So in the sense of doing that and translating that information into the business, so you've identified that you want X. Okay? So that's the first step, right? Is what do you want? Because if we go back in previous lessons, the business only understands numbers, and it communicates in numbers, and you communicate to your business in numbers. I think we heard that again repeated on the event this weekend. As an ID, you've got to pay attention to the numbers. Yes, very, very important. But the understanding that is required is what number, and how many of those numbers, and where do they have to be, and in what sequence. So if you were to then take a look at your instructions that you just wrote and then counted the number of steps you took to get to each location, you'd have a more detailed plan, wouldn't you? So take 50 steps to the first corner, turn right. Take 25 steps to the next location, turn right. Take 30 steps to the next location, and there's the water station. You know, push the button 3 times to get the water to come out, whatever. But you can keep breaking it down and breaking it down and breaking it down to manageable pieces so that it doesn't overwhelm you. Now let's come back to the reality of things. If you want to make $8,000 a month, you have to have 133,000 CV. I mean, that's the bottom line. You could maybe make it with, well, a trip isn't income, a trip's a bonus, so you don't get the money unless there's a catastrophe or a pandemic, they send you on a trip, but income, and that's what we're talking about here. So the reality of the income is that, or you're a good retailer. And if you're a really good retailer, you can compensate some of that income by your retail. But I don't know too many people that are making $8,000 a month in retail only. So you get the idea of what I'm saying. So in the sense of that number, then we have to understand what are the pieces of this puzzle. So, okay, so again, you look at it, well, I need 15 groups, 15 leaders. Where are they located? You're going to see this. You can print out the map. You can see the details, the amount of volume, etc., what level they're on. So you got the appropriate understanding of that structure. But what's important is that the key to it is one person. The whole key to that scenario is one person. And that one person, and then the example I'm giving you is going to you're going to help that one person build an organization as a team. Now, why is that important? Well, that's important because, together we stand, united we fall. And this is a team program. This is okay, I was very successful. I had, I think, 70,000 distributors in my organization over time. Okay, who's that singing? All right, good job. Nice song singing. I appreciate that. Thank you. So, I think I had 70,000 people. I was almost at 100 million in volume on an annual basis. I think I had 2,700 silvers in my organization at the time. I think there was 300 platinums, 600 golds, and it was a large size organization. So in looking at all of that stuff, because it's not really important, what was important was I got what I wanted and I built what I wanted, but it started with just me. It started with me by myself. And so at the beginning, I wanted this $8,000 a month because that was an important thing for my budget. If I didn't have the 8,000, then I couldn't pay the bills. And if I couldn't pay the bills, then I'm going to be stressed to the max. I'm going to have to do something weird or strange or, et cetera, et cetera. So that was really important. So my why was to build a successful business to take care of my family. That's why I was doing this business, period. And so that drive then caused me to do the rest of the things. Now, I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a magic wand that said, okay, this is what you got to do. So I went to a mentor. And the mentor said, this is what needs to be done, and for you to get that, and that was the $8,000 plan. You got to have a plan. And then I said, okay, good. So then what next? Well, go find number one. Now, once I had number one, then I could go to help him, and you'll see what that means, and then number two, etc. So I had to have a plan. I had to make a decision. I had to go into action. It's that simple. What I really want you to understand, this isn't a magical mystery tour. You don't have to have, it's not by chance or by laws or by anything else. It's by doing. You just have to do. But the key is identifying what to do. The key is understanding, what to do and how to do it. So, for example, we're a business all about communication. Now, just from experience, I've been in the sales industry my whole life, and this is how I've earned my living my whole life, was in marketing or selling a product or a commodity. And the bottom line of selling is effective communication. So here's what I've discovered there is that if the person that I'm talking to has a need for what I'm talking about, and we get along very well, there's a good chance that we're going to play. Don't have to like me, just we get along. In other words, I want you to really understand that what's important is the mutual want, and that we brought out in a couple of lessons ago. It's the mutual want. So if I look at all my 6 key leaders that built this business and all the key royal diamonds that I've created in this business and diamonds, et cetera, it was all based on a mutual want. Now, what aspect of that want was the interesting thing? Some people wanted recognition. Okay, some people wanted the income. Some people wanted the power. There are many perceptions that are involved in this transaction. So, but again, what I'm trying to get to the point is your job for you is to figure out your way. But the mechanics, and what I mean by the mechanics are what do you have to do every day become the issue. So again, what do you want? And you should sit down there and really write this down so this becomes what becomes important, because this is the drive. This is your drive. Because you're all, once this Zoom's over and all the other Zooms are over and you're sitting by yourself, the only connection you have to anybody else in this world is either the phone or the computer or go live and meet them. But as far as the business, we don't have a physical structure. We don't have an office to go to where we can all meet and congregate and socialize and, oh, hey, who'd you run into today? Oh, what was that all about? Oh, tell me about that experience. And again, this is an important aspect because that's all we do is communicate, right? We communicate what we have, and we find out what others need and want, and that's the bottom line. So the simplicity of it is, and the simplicity of today's strategy plan was, okay, the plan is your directions. Now here's the interesting thing about creating the instruction. Every time you write down an instruction, you're making a decision. So when you wrote down the instructions, you're actually making a decision to go do it. And then when it came time to start, it was a piece of cake. You just got up and went and you knew exactly where to go and you got to the end result. So the same thing applies is, okay, so how many people here feel they have their number one key partner in this business? Raise your hands. Okay, so we got 1, we got 2, we got 3. Okay, all right. So then from that statement, then that's what you need to do is now you've got to put that plan together, make that decision, and go out and do what you need to do to find that number one. Well, what is that? Well, that's talking to whoever you can talk to. I mean, there is no rhyme nor reason to this. In the sense of the more people you talk to, the more opportunity. And again, let's look at this in a bigger picture. How many people are on planet Earth? It's what, 8.5 billion? How many people are in your neighborhood? Maybe 5,000, 4,000? How many people are in your city? And how many people do you need to make this business work to really be successful? 5, 6, 3? So if we put things in perspective, there are gazillions of people out there with gazillions of circumstances that could fit the bill of what you're trying to accomplish. We know that in this country that everybody is clinically dehydrated. Everybody. There isn't an exception to the rule. So we know that there's, what the problems with the water industry is. We know what and there's 120 in America. There's 122 million homes. The bottled water industry is $319 billion a year. And there's over 2 million households that have a net worth of, 8 million households that have a net worth of over 2 million. There's plenty of people. But where are they? You see, they're not standing on the corner saying, hey, I'm over here, I'm over here. But they're standing on the corner somewhere, and that's our job, right? That's our job to find them. So now, in the sense of doing, the whole key to making this business work is doing. So if your plan has not got you doing, then there's something goofy there that you need to look at. I'm not saying you're goofy, but the plan needs to be tweaked, because that's the key. And again, if I look at the number of people that I got involved in the business and the circumstances, I mean, man, there's a 10 million stories. There's 10 million ways people came in here. There's 10 million different circumstances and situations that were involved. So what you have to do is you have to go find that person that needs and wants something. Now, again, here's a mistake that a lot of people make. They go and try and sell the product first. The key to this is finding out what's needed and wanted first. In other words, okay, let's put it into real life terms. So you're looking for a boyfriend or a girlfriend. So do you go out there and say, okay, I want to get married and I want to find Mr. Right and I'm looking for you. Would you be Mr. Right? Do you ask that question right off the bat? Or for the guys, do you go and say, okay, I want to get married. You're the right person. Let's get married? No. You go on a kind of a search and discovery. You know, you go and you ask questions. You go and find out what's important. You find out what's needed and wanted with the other person. And everybody's different, aren't they? And that's the unique part about this, and that's the challenge. We can't just go the same way all the time, with the exception of one thing. And that's what I found out and discovered very early on, that I wasn't the only person that needed to make money. And it seemed that if we look at our population, 94.9% of the working population works. Why? Why do they work? Because they want those green pieces of paper, because those green pieces of paper provide food, shelter, clothing, entertainment, and all the other stuff that goes on with that and that exchange that gets in. So if you get your wits around this, this is a business and it can make you a truckload full of money. That's what I want you to get your wits around. It can make you a truckload worth of money if you focus your attention in the right areas in the right direction. If you confront what is to be confronted, if you deal what needs to be dealt with, and if you make the right decisions. So here's what my suggestion is, and then we'll turn off the thing and get into a Q&A is, you know, you've heard all kinds of things. Think big. You know, so let's up the game, and you know, it's $8,000 to $10,000 a month is the game. But how do we get there? Well, we've got to see what it looks like. We've got to understand what has to be done, and then we just have to take the first step on the right path and stay on that path. So you wrote a plan to get your water. Now, what if halfway through that plan you changed your mind and said, nah, it's too much work? Would you have gotten your water? No. And what if you wrote that plan and then all of a sudden somebody phones you up on the phone and distracts you? And then you just decided not to go back on that, you wouldn't get your water either, would you? So what we have to look at is then what keeps us on track, what makes this work for us, and how do we become persistent and just keep going and going and going and going. And so we have to have benchmarks, and we have to understand what we're looking for, and we have to create results. And then so that became the building, the structure. That became the idea. So all of a sudden, let's say I recruit Elaine, I recruit Mary, and I recruit Dawn on my three front line. And then they go out, and Elaine gets Jeannie, and then Jeannie gets Hattie Jane, and Hattie Jane gets Lorraine. So now, what have I got? I've got these teams, and then, you know, under I go get also Nancy, and under Nancy is Karen, and then Connie, and now we have a team there, and we're supporting each other, and we've got these teams. Now, you guys know this more than I do. What happens when you have a team to play with? It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more collaborative. It's a lot more rewarding. You know, rather than sitting by yourself in your home scratching your head, who's next? Kind of a concept. So Here's the exercise that you want to do and take home and do for yourself. It's so really understand what you want. Now, whatever it is that you want, whether it's an emotion, a sensation, a feeling, whatever, the business only understands numbers, doesn't understand emotions. So at the end of the month, if it can't pay the bills, it just doesn't pay the bills. That's it. It doesn't cry. It doesn't rant and rave. It doesn't yell or scream or jump up and down. It just simply stops doing what it's supposed to do. You direct the traffic. Okay, so number one is really figure out what you want. Now, number two, in the video that was presented on Plan and Strategy is the formula. I'm not going to tell you the formula now, but the formula is there of what you need to do. I want you to practice doing that formula, starting with $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month, $6,000 a month, all the way up to whatever you want, for a specific reason. Okay, the first reason is this: what you don't understand, you won't talk about. So if you run into somebody that needs to make a living, you're not going to talk about what to do to make a living because you don't understand it. So you'll talk about something else. Okay? So again, this is important stuff. Now, you're a professional. This is your own business. Your job is to, next lesson is going to be on, what your business actually produces, and this is going to be a fabulous lesson for you guys, and it won't be for maybe a couple of weeks because I'm going out of town, and I'll explain that at the end. But you want to have this exercise down. Get with your sponsor, get with a group, get with other people, write it down, practice it, become familiar with the language. So, and here's why. So you can go out and ask the question, if I could show you how to make an extra $5,000 a month, would you sit down with me? You'd be amazed at how many people will sit down with you. You'd be just amazed. Now, let's look at another subject for a second. You need insurance because you want to protect your family or whatever, and you go to an insurance agent. Do they not lay out an exact plan for you? Do they not show you exactly what's going to happen, how much it's going to cost you, what your premiums are, what the benefits are, an illustration, all that sort of stuff, in a very professional way? Let's say you go to a medical, you want to get medical. Don't they do the same thing? And you want to get, anything along those lines. You go to a security broker, you've got money to invest, and they lay out a plan for you in a strategy. It's the professionalism of delivering what's being requested. So somebody's looking for a job. What do? They go to a recruiter. They go to job, hunting companies to help place them and get them a job because they know those people will get the job. So this is common practice. This isn't unusual stuff, guys. This is normal everyday stuff that's going on 24/7. And look at the size of our population. There's millions of people out there. And they're not all satisfied, and they're not all got what they want, and they're not all going in the right direction. Your job is to find the ones that are dissatisfied, have a desire, or need a change, which we learned about in the previous video. So, know what you want. Now, create that plan and practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it. Present it to other people. Phone each other up and play the game. That's what I did. That's what I had my front line do. I'd say, okay, phone me up and pitch me. Phone me up and tell me how to get involved with this business. Phone me up and tell me how to make $5,000 a month. I want to hear it. Now, why do we do that? Is so we become comfortable. It's what we don't understand we won't talk about. So if you understand it, then guess what you're going to talk about? Now, is everybody going to play ball with you? Nah. Is everybody going to join your group? Nah. That would be too easy. That would simply be too easy. We'd have been done a long time ago. But the bottom line here is that what's going to happen is if you get out there and start talking, does everybody buy a waterfall from you? Does everybody buy a sleep system from you? Does everybody buy mag steps from you? Does everybody buy mag duo from you? No. It's wherever the shoe fits. You put the glove on the shoe on the foot, the whatever the case may be, the Cinderella story, it doesn't matter which way you go, but you're out there constantly communicating. So now you've done the exercise of figuring out what you want. Now create the plan. What's the plan? The plan is a set of instructions. Go get your water. It's step by step by step by step by step. And why is this so important? The next person that comes into your life that says they want to play, you want to be and able to guide them, direct them, help them, and show them. Why? Because it's the people underneath them that you want. Because they're in your business too. And I really want you to look at that picture and understand that the people on your fourth level are just as important as your front line. And as a Royal Diamond, if you get to 6 levels, the people on the 6th level are just as important as the first level because you get paid on their volume if you were a Royal Diamond. But it won't happen if you don't build it there. But the building of it is going to be as easy as following the instructions to get your glass of water. But you write the instructions. Because then when somebody else comes into the business, guess what you're going to be able to do? Push button. Here, this is what we do. Step 1, we're going to do this. Step 2, we're going to do this. Step 3, etc., etc., etc. And so from the standpoint of the magic of this business is doing the activities that are known to create the results. That's the magic of this business. And doing lots of it. Now, we're all different, so we all have to do different things. I had to jump through major hoops to make this thing work. That was me. But I was a persistent guy, and I persisted and persisted and persisted. Okay, so there you go. You can watch the video. The PowerPoint I put in a PDF, so you can download the PDF, so you can see the graphs and the formulas. And then just again come back to take a look at what you want, look at create the plan, make the decision, go into action. And it's that simple. We'll end the record right now and we'll ask questions and answers and then we'll go from there and I'll